Relative positioning allows us to add additional properties to a position declaration that specify the top, left, right, and bottom position coordinates of the element. To illustrate an example, let's add the following properties to our style rule. Now, if we were to refresh our web page and take a look at this in our web browser, we'll notice that nothing has changed. Even though we've specified the top and left position, the element is in the exact same place it was prior to adding those declarations. The reason for this is because our position is still set to static. Let's go ahead and change the position to relative and see the difference. We can now see that this element has moved from 50 pixels from the left side of our content area and 50 pixels down from the top of our content area. Now let's work with nested divs. We're going to create a div inside this div and see how the relative positioning is affected when we're working with nested and parent divs. The first thing we need to do is create the ID selector for the nested div. We'll call it div2. And we'll create some properties for this div. We're making it a different color, and we'll also make it a different size, so then that way we can clearly see a distinction between our original div and this new nested div. Okay, we'll keep the position as relative to see how a relative positioned div behaves inside of another div that it also has the same position declaration. So we'll go ahead and insert our nested div in our body. We'll reference ID selector div2. And we'll just save our file. And this is what the new document looks like. We can see that our nested div is situated within our parent, our container div. Now we want to move the nested div 80 pixels from the top and left relative to the parent div. In order to do this, all we need to do is add the top and left declarations to our style rule. Now when we save our file and refresh, we can see that the nested div has moved 80 pixels from the top and 80 pixels from the left relative not to the web browser's content area, but to its parent div. So keep that in mind.